I'm Carrie Handley. My husband and I are proud parents of a 31-year-old daughter whom we share guardianship of. My husband's also an estate and probate attorney with a concentration of special needs planning in the Houston area. Our legislation was HB 1188, the Caitlin Handley Act. That was renamed for her after she testified for the first time as a self-advocate in the House Committee on Public Education. Our bill would require, well, I guess backing up, prior to our bill, students or families of students with disabilities were told in public school about waiver programs and referred to their local intellectual and developmental disability authorities at age 14. We wondered why, and we set out to create this bill that now that it's been enacted requires families to be told about this at the very first ARD meeting after a child is diagnosed with an intellectual or disability or developmental delay. So, being that my husband is an estate and probate attorney, and we go to a lot of resource fairs, we give away a packet of information, 32-page booklet for families, because we don't want families to go through what we went through, which was we didn't know anything. Caitlin was born in 1994, so the internet was brand new. We did not have the resources that a lot of families do now, and doctors were telling us that, all children develop differently and give it time, and I knew something was wrong. So we were able to reach out to a lot of the companies and organizations and schools that we knew through not only Caitlin's experience in private schools for children with special needs, but also our experiences at these resource fairs. I reached out to all of them. I asked for their support of our bill in this last legislative session. We did none of this in the first one. And I was able to create a list that showcased all of these companies and organizations that were behind our bill. And that was a great help because the legislators could then look at this and say, oh, these are our constituents. So this makes a difference to all of these people. We just kept revising that list. And then Boyd and I are also a member of our local Chamber of Commerce, and the president and CEO is also a friend, and he was very interested in our bill. He happens to be the mayor of the town that our chamber is in. And so he mentioned it or had us come out and talk about our bill while we were in the middle of this process, this last legislative session. And we simply asked people to get involved, to write, to call, to send emails, to fill out contact forms with their own legislators, letting them know that they wanted this bill backed. That was a tremendous help as well. The barriers happened in the first session that we did this bill in. Um, Basically, this bill, when I looked at the breakdown of votes, because in Texas, bills are read three times on the floor and then they're voted on twice. And when I looked at the difference between the first two House votes, I could see that how the voting was skewed with one political party voting all in favor of it and most of the other political party voting mostly against it. That right there told me that there was a disconnect between what our bill actually was and what people thought the bill was. So we made some adaptations to the wording of the bill in this legislative session to make it more palatable, to make it more understandable to the legislators. And even when we went into some of these meetings, now getting involved for us, one of the things we did was we were at the Capitol every 1 to 2 weeks from last January until the end of May when our bill was signed into law. Those visits were crucial for our bill. And having Caitlin there, where she's coming in holding her stuffed bunny and telling people she's 31 years old, and they realize that while she can, communicate, there was definitely, the IDD showed up fairly well. They understood that. Um, so we would go into these offices, and sometimes we would meet with staff, and sometimes we would get to meet with the legislators. And there was in one case where a legislator that had voted against our bill in the first session, both times during both votes, and we laid out the bill for him, and he looked at us and he said, "This bill makes perfect sense. I don't know why anybody would vote against it." So that really hit home that we had to make this bill something that people could understand and get behind. And Caitlin was a big factor in that. Come up with an idea and just find a way to move it forward. Basically, you don't need experience. I had no experience going into this, none. I used some business skills to help me realize that we needed to follow up each time we were in the Capitol. There were certain things, and we just kept adding things along the way. But I have a friend who has a child with special needs. Our children used to go to the same school. We carpooled together. Um, and when she heard about what we were doing, she says, "Okay, at the next session, could you tell them about?" And I said, "Why don't you do this?" And she says, "Well, I don't know anybody." I didn't either. And so that is not, that shouldn't be a stumbling block. If you have something that you're passionate about, the best thing that we did was team up with a great organization. In our case, it was the Arc of Texas. And then we just went from there. We took their lead, but then we changed it exponentially. Or I shouldn't say change it, we added to it. They were a tremendous help all throughout this process, but especially in the beginning, because they understood what we were doing and why we were doing it and felt it was important. And then they helped us get into the legislature. So really, don't think that you can't do it just because you may not have experience, because experience isn't necessary in order to take a passion and move it forward in order to help other people. That's the thing about our bill. It was never going to help our family. It was way too late for that. It was something that we did to give hope to other families. And if you have something that you're passionate about, whether it's in the disability community or another issue, then just move forward with it by teaming up with someone that can help guide you through it.